Ida B. Wells-Barnett, Combating the Interlocking Nature of Oppression by Isabella Ehresman. An overview of Ida B. Wells-Barnett's early life. She was born on July 16th, 1862 in Holly Springs, Mississippi, just 8 months before emancipation. She is the oldest daughter of Lizzie and James Wells. She is the oldest of 8 children. She is orphaned at the age of 16 due to a yellow fever outbreak, and not wanting to separate her siblings, Ida steps up and begins raising her family with the help of her grandparents. She becomes a Memphis schoolteacher to help support her family. Her parents had always prioritized her education, and so Ida knew how to read and write. This, combined with some education received at Rusk College and Fisk University, allowed Ida to become a schoolteacher in Memphis, Tennessee. Her family moved from Mississippi to Tennessee to be closer with their aunt who could help their family. Her motivations to engage in social justice. Due to her Christian values, she believes everyone should be treated equally and fairly. When she is forcibly removed from the first class railroad car, even though she has a valid ticket, she sues the Chesapeake, Ohio, and Southwestern Railway Company for forcibly removing her when she had every right to have her ticket in the correct and was sitting in the right seat. She won her lawsuit at the local level, but it was later overturned in federal court. This is her first instance with the legal system, and she is immediately aware that the law will never be on her side because she is a Black woman. She realizes very quickly that not everyone is treated fairly and equally. She then uses her education to expose and critique the inequalities that Black men and women were facing in America. Additionally, her co ownership of the Free Memphis speech allowed her to publicly denounce the atrocities happening to Black men and women we're facing in America. She also made these critiques accessible to everyone through utilizing common, simple language. Since she had a platform that was willing to publish her taboo research, she felt an obligation to use it to inform and expose the public to what is actually going on. She wants this information to be public so that no one can continue to ignore how Black men and women are treated in America. Ida realizes that she needs to enter the world of activism and continue voicing her outrage against the injustices in the Black community in order to achieve real change, and that included securing the right for women to vote. Ida B. Wells Barnett connection to Black feminist thought. Prior to Black feminist thought, Black women lacked a framework that would validate their knowledge as Black feminist thought takes into account social, historical, and the material conditions of Black women. It is a framework designed by Black women for Black women. Black women can now freely and accurately describe and articulate their life experiences in a way that now formally produces knowledge. Black women have always been living their lives their way, but they were looked down upon because their production of knowledge does not follow along with traditional frameworks. The traditional frameworks used to validate knowledge have always excluded Black women. Now there is a framework that exists to push for racial and gender equality simultaneously, helping this notion of self definition and self validation. Through Black feminist thought, there is an acknowledgement of the interlocking nature of oppression. People's identities affect their lived experiences, and both Ida's identity, being Black and being a woman, put her in a position where most of society feels superior over her because of her status. Ida never shies away from either of her identities, in fact, embraces both. A concept that Ida B. Wells never stopped striving for in her activism towards women's suffrage. Ida B. Wells would not support a women's suffrage group that did not acknowledge that Black women deserve the right to vote just as equally as white women. She knew the importance of being both Black and a woman and never let this falter in her activism. So, specifically looking at Ida B. Wells Barnett's women's suffrage activism, there's a quote from Paula Giddings: For African Americans, women's suffrage also meant Black suffrage, and few were more passionate than Wells Barnett. Ida believed that women's organizations were the new power, the new molder of public sentiment, and to accomplish the reforms that were pulsate and the law failed to do. So, one of the first women's clubs that she created was the Alpha Suffrage Club, which was the first Black suffrage club formed in Chicago in 1913. She was motivated in part by racism within the women's suffrage movement and once again highlighting the importance of embracing Black women, embracing their womanhood as well as their Blackness. She went on to found the Alpha Suffrage Club. Unlike white suffragists, Black women couldn't separate race from gender, as both identities played a role in their oppression. So the Alpha Suffrage Club not only fought for the access to vote, but for more Black political leadership at the local level. One of the main goals was showing Black women how to use their vote for the advantage of ourselves and our race. Women's marches. Ida was asked to march in the back of the first National American Women's Suffrage Association parade in Washington, D.C. in 1913 because she was the sole Black woman in the Illinois delegation. Black women were asked not to march in the parade with white suffragettes because of fear that it would set back progress for suffrage that they had made in the southern states. Instead, Black suffragettes were asked to march after the several other groups. Although many of the Black suffragettes agreed to the segregated march, Wells did not. Ida initially was going to boycott the parade, but instead waited in the crowd and joined the parade after it started, making sure to join the white suffragettes. She proudly marched with the head of the ladies of the Illinois delegation, showing that no color line existed in this first parade. Ida's activism connection to the Black Research Collective, a contemporary group. The mission of the Black Research Collective is to train and equip communities with research tools to be more civically engaged and publicly informed, policy informed. This allows Black women to become self sufficient and produce their own forms of knowledge. The Black Research Collective prioritizes teaching research, evaluation, and technical skills as a way to provide Black women with the tools needed to rely on themselves to create knowledge. They want to educate their community and provide the tools and resources needed to fix and uplift their communities themselves. It's a if not you, then who mentality. Dr. Glennis Green described it as teaching a woman to fish model, referring to becoming self sufficient and uplifting Black women in the field of academia. By knowing how to research, they now have the tools needed to better help their community. There is an emphasis on then how to use that research to inform and strive for better policy change. The similarity between the Black Research Collective and Ida B. Wells is that they both strive to make information and research techniques accessible to everyone, especially Black women. Ida B. Wells did the same thing when she would write her critiques in her Iola journals in accessible, understandable language so that everybody has the tools needed to better help themselves. And here is a list of references I used throughout my project. Thank you.